So other than just throwing the limited slip in here, I want to make a few modifications to how this rear end works. So the Syncro rear end had by default a vacuum locking system, but that wasn't really helpful because it was kind of more of an unlocking system apparently. And the way it worked was really by, well, I have the piece right here, was by actuating this little toothed thing, I wouldn't even remotely call it a gear or whatever, back and forth, and basically just crashing these points into bolt heads that look like this. And you could see on the bolts that I pulled out that they're just completely ruined from just running this thing in and out, and it seemed like kind of a pointless thing anyway. So it wasn't really, this wasn't what you would call a vacuum locker in the sense of like a 4x4, because it was really only locking the input. So you still had an open differential. You were just locking or unlocking something, locking or unlocking the connection between the center differential and the rear differential, which, why would you want to ever unlock that? In my opinion, if it's an all-wheel drive car, drive all the wheels pretty much all the time, and you know, you actually get what you pay for, or import. So that was half of it, and that's kind of like, well, you can just get rid of that, and you don't really have to worry about it that much, because the second part of this equation is this sprag, which goes in between this little section, which attaches to the rear differential, the differential itself, which this is a limited slip piece, so it would go down and attach to the differential, and then power is transmitted through this spline shaft that I was holding up before, through the angle drive, which would go to the center differential. So this little spline bit slips on the inside here. So the sprag, what the sprag does is allows you, and let me push this together. So what the sprag allows you to do is to free spin in one direction, but lock in the other direction. So generally what the system would do is completely freewheel off throttle, but as soon as you applied power, and power actually got transmitted through the center differential, the viscous coupler, and got applied to the rear wheels, the sprag would lock. But that would just mean that whenever you came off throttle, and presumably if I'm rallying, I come off throttle turning in a normal all-wheel drive car, you'd get off throttle oversteer, because it would kind of drag the rear wheels, you know. That's not really a thing that would happen when this would unlock. So again, I'm not really getting all-wheel drive all the time like any other normal all-wheel drive car would allow. Solution to that is to get rid of this piece and replace it with a spacer that we can turn down on the lathe that just takes its place in between there. Kendall told me, I think this morning, that he needed to do some math to see if we could either get away with machining a piece and pressing it in, and either just pressing it in would take the load, or if we need to V-cut it and then hold it centered on the lathe and then weld it. So waiting to see what we need to do there. So I need to take some measurements and start making a spacer either way, really, and then we can start to reassemble the rear end with the limited slip and get that buttoned up. So still quite a bit to do.
all over.
I noticed you haven't posted Project Syncro on the STLBW Facebook page.
Oh, they just rip that up and down.
What's gonna be plastic do?
Yeah.
We go with some BBSs?
Yeah.
Yep, spending 10 grand on wheels so I can ruin them on the first price.
Could put turbo on it. Big turbo. Big turbo motor.